Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today's practice is a chair yoga practice. So you'll need a stable chair, like a folding chair, something without wheels. It's better to be in a seat where you don't have any arms to get in the way. So something where you have a little more range of motion here for your arms. And just make sure it feels comfortable for you so that you can have your feet flat on the floor. If your chair's up a little higher, you might use something like yoga blocks or books to sort of put under your feet so your feet can connect to the ground or your mat or your blocks. So finding your position in your chair, and we're going to get some movement into the upper body, a little bit into the legs, and maybe find a couple of warrior poses as well. So just always listen to your body and your breath. To begin, maybe sit with your hands on your thighs, palms down to start, feet flat on the mat or other support. Nice tall spine, and notice how you feel. See if you can invite that regal spine, as if you're trying to grow taller, creating space between each vertebrae. Notice your breath. Begin to tune into your breath. You might keep your eyes open, finding a soft gaze, or you could close your eyes and just watch your breath. Notice how your breath is moving in your body and where you feel the breath. Is it mostly in your belly, in your chest, the nostrils, or maybe you feel it somewhere else? Take a few breaths here, just watching how your body is being breathed. Notice the quality of your breath. Is it smooth or choppy, shallow or deep? And then if your palms are down on your thighs, gently turn them face up. Notice if that feels any different. Having the palms up is a more receptive gesture with our hands and energy. Having the palms down can be more centering and grounding. So just experiment and see what feels best for you today. And then open your eyes if they're closed. And let's take our arms out to the side. And take an inhale, reach your arms out and up. And then exhale, bring your hands down to your heart. Inhale, open the arms out wide. And exhale, lower your hands down. And find the seat of your chair or the frame of your chair where it has some support to hold on to. Reach your left arm up, only as high as feels appropriate to you, holding onto the chair with your right hand, and a little side bend over to that side. Notice how that feels. And then inhale, coming back up, and exhale, slowly lower that arm down. Inhale your right arm up, holding onto the frame of the chair with your left hand, and then exhale, side bend over to your left. Breathe here, only going as far as feels appropriate to you. And then inhale, coming back up, and exhale, lower that hand down. Bring your hands again to your legs, and then extend your one leg out in front of you. And you can point and flex through that foot. Doesn't matter which leg you're starting with, just remember which one you're doing now. And then relax that movement. movement and see if you can rotate your ankle. and then reverse direction. Notice if one direction's easier than the other. And then lower that foot down and extend your other leg out. Point and flex through that foot. Notice how that feels. And then rotate that ankle. Notice any creaks and cracks or how it feels, and then reverse direction. One direction always feels a little easier than the other. And then lower that leg down. So see if you can heel toe your feet a little wider. So the feet are wide and the knees are going in the same direction as your toes. Sit up nice and tall. Make sure you're not rounding through your spine. And then bring your right arm onto that thigh. Make sure that feels okay. You're engaging the core slightly. And if that feels okay, then maybe lift that other arm up to the sky. Notice how that feels. Coming into a side angle pose variation. The right hand might be palm up. And then slowly lower that lifted arm, come back to center and pause. And then bring your left forearm onto your left thigh. Just make sure that feels okay, anywhere on the thigh. If you're okay here, consider reaching your right arm up, coming into side angle pose on this side. Notice how this feels. Find variations as you need to. And then inhale, coming back up, and lower that hand down. So from here, you might want to scoot a little more towards the edge of the chair. And we're going to come into a warrior two pose variation. So turning in your chair, a little bit of an angle, so that your right leg is just about 90 degrees. And your right thigh is on the seat of the chair. If your right foot doesn't quite make it to the floor, if your heel is up, you might put a block or a book under that foot. If your legs are longer and maybe your thigh isn't connecting with the seat of the chair, you might use a blanket on the chair. Because the chairs are one size fits none. You might sit on a blanket to lift your hips up a little bit so that your thigh can be more parallel to the floor. And this might feel better for you, especially with the back leg. So sitting on some type of blanket or cushion, make sure it's not going to make you slide off the chair. And then take your other leg straight out. Maybe just straight out, sort of in front of the chair. Or you might take it behind you a little more, but this can be a little tough in some hips. And especially if your chair is low, it can be really challenging. If you sit up on enough blankets, sometimes it makes it more accessible. So you can either have the back leg out there or a little bit more of an angle, sort of a diagonal. So make sure you're sitting up nice and tall and that you feel that your hips are on the chair, that you're not going to slide off. So from here, actively press into the front foot and your back foot or side foot. Shoulders are about over your hips, and then arms come up, shoulder height, or maybe a little lower. So your front hand, your right hand is just about over your right toes. Gazing over your right fingertips. Warrior two variation. Breathe here and invite your inner warrior to be expressed in this pose. Appreciating your inner strength and resilience. And breathe normally here. One more breath. And as you exhale, lower those arms. Thoughtfully bend that left leg. Sort of heel toe the foot in a little closer. Hands to the chair. Bring yourself back to neutral and pause. Notice difference between your right and left sides. And then other side. So turning around again so that your left leg is sort of towards this one side of the chair. Left foot flat on the mat or other support. Left thigh fairly parallel. Right leg straightens out as much as you can, and that leg might go out at an angle. Or if you're up high enough on the chair, it might go back a little bit more. But that can feel really scrunchy in that outer right hip. And you might not have that range of motion in the joint either. It might just stop at a certain point. So listen to your body. So find the variation for that right leg and foot. Actively press into your feet. Legs are feeling strong, not huge effort, but there's some engagement there. Shoulders over your hips, nice tall spine. And then inhale, arms down and up, about shoulder height or a little lower. Find what feels good to you. Left hand just about over that left foot. Gaze softly over your left fingertips. And appreciate your inner warrior, your inner strength and resilience as you breathe here. One more breath. And then on your exhale, slowly lower your arms down. Pause. Thoughtfully bend your right knee, bringing that right foot in a little bit closer. Bring that left knee around. Come back to center and pause. Notice sensation. So if you were sitting on a blanket, you might set that aside. Unless you're liking sitting on the blanket, it might be more comfortable for you. So another pose in the chair that I find really great for stretching the outer hips is figure 4 hip stretch. Be mindful of your knees. If this doesn't work for your knees, one option is to use maybe another chair in front of you or blocks. And I'll show you that in a moment. So crossing one ankle over the opposite thigh. Make sure your knees are okay. If you can't get the foot up, if the knee or hip is just like, not going to happen, have something a little higher, maybe a low stool or a chair with a rung on it that you can put your foot on. So this can be another variation coming forward, and you can still feel a nice stretch in that hip. So that's an option. Or ankle above the knee on the thigh, and you might hinge forward a little bit until you feel sensation in that outer hip. This is a great stretch. Many of us have tightness in this area, our hip areas of our hip. And even if you do a lot of walking, hiking, those muscles tend to get really tight. You're working the muscles, strengthening them, and it's also really important to stretch them. This is a great stretch to do daily. So keep your spine long. Remember not to force or go deeper than feels appropriate for you. You can relax your arms and hands wherever they make sense to you. You might be more upright with your hands, just maybe something like this, on your ankle and knee, not pushing on the knee, or whatever feels good. I like to sort of rest my forearms on my foot and lower leg. And you want to keep that ankle a little active so that you're not sickling or collapsing that ankle. And notice which leg you're using first, what foot is on top of which thigh. And then slowly come back up. You might use your hands to lift that foot off and come back to center and pause. And then other side. So again, either the foot on the blocks or something similar, or that foot comes onto the opposite thigh. Keeping that ankle active, toes going towards your shin, and then hinging forward. Notice sensation. So notice also if you started with your more comfortable side, maybe your tight side, and this might be your tighter side. So just notice how the sensation feels in this outer hip. If it feels like it's a lot tighter, might be a little crankier. Just notice what you're feeling. And encouraging a release in that outer hip. Remember, we never want to force anything. We just want to encourage and invite that release. A few more breaths here. And then slowly, when you're ready, slowly start to come back up. Remove that ankle from the thigh and pause. So now we're going to come into a twist, sitting up nice and tall. Extend your arms out. Take an inhale, nice long spine. And exhale, twist to your right. And just lower your hands and arms wherever they feel comfortable to you. Twisting to your right, maybe they'll just relax onto that right leg somewhere. Or maybe onto the frame of the chair. Find what feels good to you. Again, never force your way into any twists. Keep your spine nice and long. On your next inhale, unwind, come back to center. Notice maybe some unevenness, having done just one side. And then arms out, take an inhale, exhale, twist to your left, and again lower your hands and arms wherever they make sense to you. Nice long spine. Breathe here. On your next inhale, unwind. Come back to center. Notice sensation. And then keep your hands on your thighs and just come forward. So you're just resting your upper body on your thighs. Hands are still on your legs. If you feel comfortable doing so, you might reach your hands down your legs. And maybe hands come to your feet, or if you have blocks handy, you might have your hands on blocks. So you're just lengthening the spine. And if your hands are lower on your legs or other supports, bring one hand back onto one thigh and then the other. So your hands are back on your legs. And then inhale, slowly bring yourself back up and pause. Notice your breath. Notice sensation. Again, either palms down or palms up. Notice how you feel. And then with appreciation for your efforts and your focus, bring your hands together at your heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.